So hey guys, today we have Akansha and she's having almost 3 years of experience in Java and Spring Boot domain. So let's get started. Hey, hi Akansha, how are you?
Hi, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
Yes, I'm also good. Shall we start?
Yes, we can start.
Okay. Can you please introduce yourself and your recent project?
I'm Akanksha Dasane. I have
Mm-hmm.
completed my graduation from Sipna College of Engineering and Technology from Amravati.
Okay.
I'm working in intellect design arena. I have
Mm-hmm.
almost 3 years of experience.
Okay.
Right, my current project was on Spring Boot.
Okay. Uh, what is the role? What's
Uh,
your role in your current project?
I was system engineer there.
System engineer. So what's your day-to-day work?
Day-to-day work, like we were integrating APIs, we were forming and we were seeing about transaction eKYC
Okay.
process. I have
Okay.
worked upon them.
So do you create REST APIs?
Yes.
Can you tell me what are the best practices yeah, if someone wants to create REST API? So what would be the best practices?
We can use microservices for creating RESTful APIs.
Okay, so
Uh,
microservice is mandatory or optional?
it,
Cannot we
it's
create
optional.
REST APIs in monolithic application?
We can create.
Okay, okay. Okay, so can you tell me what are the advantages of using Spring Boot over traditional Spring application?
For Spring Boot, we have embedded Tomcat servers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, First, when we have a Spring, so we have to initially make a server, and
Mm-hmm.
then we have to deploy each and every service differently and launch
Mm-hmm.
the application. Whereas in
Mm-hmm.
Spring Boot, we has embedded Tomcat servers, so we can say
Okay.
that run Spring Boot app so
Mm-hmm.
that it generates. And this is
Okay.
the major
Can you
advantage we
explain the
have.
dependency of injection principle and Spring framework?
Dependency in injection.
Mm-hmm.
Dependency injection is for creating beam objects, so we can use from the dependency injection. Yeah.
Okay. Like what its role in Spring? It do
To create
automatic
the
injection, right? Uh,
yes,
of dependencies into class rather than the class itself creating them, right?
creating yes,
And this leads to more decoupled and testable code. Okay.
yes.
So can you describe the Spring security framework?
Spring security framework. First, we have to put a dependency in
Mm-hmm.
XML, and
Okay.
then we can use the our code to use the Spring Boot dependency framework.
Mm-hmm.
So security
Okay. Okay.
and we also have inbuilt security jar where we
Okay.
can form and we code it like encode and decode processes in that jar. We put it up. We can
Okay.
use likewise.
Okay. Okay. So, Akansha, before moving on to the next question, do you know that we have designed a complete interview preparation package, structured step by step, containing 16 PDFs? So, basically, it's a one-stop solution to crack any
Yes,
interview. And this package covers core Java, Spring Framework, Maven, Git, Spring Boot, scenario-based questions, Spring Security, Spring MVC, Spring Data JPA, microservices, Hibernate, general Java coding questions, Stream API coding questions, and many more. And the best
yes.
part is that people have been telling me that they cracked their interviews with this material, and there is a 99% chance that the interviewer will ask questions from this package. So after this interview, I'll share a link with you to get this, and also I'll add in the description of this video. Okay. So now
Yeah, sure.
moving to our questions. Uh, how would you secure a REST API endpoint in a Spring Boot application?
We can use @async annotation for that
At the rate async.
to
Okay.
secure it.
Okay, but async is used for asynchronization things, right?
Okay.
Async. So, like, Do you know about OAuth or JWT, JWT, OAuth?
Not deeply.
So JWT means it's a Java web-based tokens.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can add authorization tokens in our
Okay.
REST APIs, and
Yes.
if someone try to hit or request any API, then they should pass this token so that
So,
backend can validate.
yes.
Okay. So do you know about authorization tokens?
Uh, we create authorization tokens and
Okay. Can you explain the concept of Spring Data JPA and its benefits?
like for to use Spring Data JPI, we have to put the dependency Spring
Mm-hmm.
Data JPI, and
Okay.
then we have a class if we create that extend JPA repository. So
Mm-hmm.
in that extend JPA repository, it gives you the inbuilt methods called save, save, find all, find by ID. So we can use that method directly if we extend that class.
Okay. What is the main purpose of using Spring Data JPA?
Spring Data JPI provides us the functionality code operation functionality very easily,
Mm-hmm.
and we can use it very easily using Spring Data JPI, and
Okay.
also the ORM relational. So that's why we can use it easily.
Okay. So can you, I mean, have you worked on custom queries in repositories?
Custom query in repositories, query inside query, you are saying?
Yes, yes. When we write some queries inside the
Yes.
repository file. So how do you
Yes.
handle custom queries in repositories?
Like by at the rate query annotation, we can
Mhm.
them.
So what are the benefits of using custom queries?
Um, Custom queries, like we can write query inside query, so that, that is the benefit it gives.
Okay. Okay. So when there is some complex query, so we need this custom query. We cannot write everything straightforward without using query.
Mm.
Okay. So that is the thing. Okay. Moving ahead. Can you please tell me a scenario where applying transactional on a service method is crucial?
Uh, Transaction on a service method is crucial.
Yes.
When the uh, transaction fails at that time.
Okay. So transactional annotation on a service method is crucial in scenarios where a series of operations need to be executed as a single atomic unit,
um,
such as in financial transactions where multiple steps like debit from one account and credit to another must all complete successfully or none at all the maintain data integrity. I mean either complete all at once or none at all.
man.
Okay, so moving ahead, which one you prefer? Yeah, either application.properties or application.yaml, and why in your project?
Like I have used application.properties file, but
Okay.
I would prefer application.yaml file because application.yaml file provides us the structured way of
Mm-hmm.
forming the data. So it will
Okay.
also show the error if the data is not in the structured format. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the case in YAML
Okay.
file.
Okay. Do we have any drawbacks of the YAML file?
Yes, we need to maintain the file. Otherwise, if the structure is not proper, then it will show the error.
Okay.
That is the thing.
Okay. You mean structure is important in YAML?
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. So moving ahead, can you explain what a microservice architecture is?
Rather than using monolithic application, we can
Mm-hmm.
divide our services into different services and
Okay.
then use that services accordingly when we require them.
Okay.
That is, if we want to have a product based service, then we can use product service. If we want a
Okay.
message based service, then we can use message based service.
Okay.
So this is the advantages microservices provide us.
Okay. What are the benefits of using microservices?
It allows us to segregate the code differently.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having all in one, then we can segregate our code differently.
Mm-hmm.
Microservices also provide us the communication, good communication.
Mm-hmm.
And in microservice, if we have an error in one file,
Mm-hmm.
so it will not affect the other files. Sorry, other services.
Other services.
So we can individually deploy one service
Mm-hmm.
rather than to launch the whole application. We can see if okay this service is failing, then we can see the error in
Mm-hmm.
the service and we can write it.
Okay. Okay. Got it. And what are the general challenges that anyone may face while working with microservices?
Maybe communicated communication between the service.
Yes, this is true. This can be the one of the challenges. And what about others? Do we have other challenges as well?
Um, right now, so I'm recollecting this one.
Okay. Okay, so maintaining security across services is also
Yes,
one of the
one of them.
crucial challenge, and dealing with the distributed data management and
Yes,
ensuring high availability and fault tolerance. So these kind of
yes.
things. What are the best practices for microservices security?
Mm,
Have you worked
uh,
on microservices security?
no, actually.
Okay. Okay. So best practices for microservices security include implementing API gateways to manage traffic and provide a single entry point using HTTPS for secure communication, applying authentication and authorization at each service layer, encrypting sensitive data, and regularly auditing and updating security practices. So these are some of the methods to secure our microservices or
Yes.
microservice architecture. Okay, so are you familiar with any specific tools or practices for monitoring?
For monitoring, we can say actuator.
Okay,
It's the
yeah, yeah,
managing
actuator
and
is also
monitoring.
fine. So what is integrated in your project for monitoring, for checking logs? How do you check the logs?
Like,
Okay, so
mm,
are you guys using any tool or not for monitoring logs or anything like? Are you guys using any Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, or Splunk, Grafana, anything?
no, I'm not aware of
Not
that.
at all. Okay. Okay, so moving ahead, how do you manage dependencies in a Maven project?
Like dependencies, we put the dependencies in the form.xml what we required.
Mm-hmm.
For the Spring Starter, we can put Spring Starter web dependency.
Okay,
And for JPA, we can put Spring JPA dependency. And for
okay,
security, we can put Spring Security dependency.
okay.
In that dependency, we
Mm-hmm.
have like group ID, artifact ID, and versioning. So this is
Mm-hmm.
the we can put the dependencies in form.xml if we require.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. So, mm, have you experience on Git?
Not much. We have
Not
some
much.
certain different team working on it.
Okay. But like, how would you revert changes in Git if you accidentally pushed a bug into the main branch?
We have like Git uh, like push to like
Okay. Uh,
uh, Git
we have
force
Git
some
revert command.
giver giver.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So moving ahead, uh, in your current project, do you write unit test cases as well? JUnit
Yes,
test
J
case.
unit test
Okay.
cases. Yes.
So what is the purpose of unit testing in software development?
Like in my current project, I have
Mm-hmm.
done work on Sonar. So,
Okay.
right, for Sonar, we have to analyze the code, and where we
Mm-hmm.
have finding the error, then we have to fix this. So,
Okay.
what we have used, no, we have used JUnit test cases for particular API, and
Okay.
we have whatever the parameters are there in the API we have created, we put
Mm-hmm.
there, and we
Mm-hmm.
check if all the parameters are being called properly or not. So
Okay.
for each service, for each
Mm-hmm.
API, we have created one test class and
Mm-hmm.
each API to see whether this API is running well or not.
Okay. So how do JUnit and Mockito facilitate unit testing or helps unit testing in Java projects?
It uh, test cases, it launch the test cases, it see whether this parameters are not matching or we are giving it.
And what's the role of Mockito?
Mockito, I'm not aware.
Okay. So have you worked on Mockito framework in JUnit test cases?
No, actually, we created the classes for JUnit test cases.
Okay. Like uh if you want to mock any service, so how do you mock while writing test cases? For example, if you are writing a test cases or you are writing a test case for a method and that method is calling some repository or some any other service. So how do you mock that service in your unit test case?
By debugging.
Okay, so there is a mock annotations and all like Mockito framework comes into the picture for these type of cases.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So how do you ensure your code changes do not break existing functionalities?
Mm, how will I check the code changes do not break
Yeah. So
existing
let's say you are
functionality?
writing code for some feature, okay,
Mm,
and you also want to make sure like your code uh, do not break existing functionalities while pushing your code into the GitLab or GitHub anywhere. So how do you ensure this? Or what do you think when you write code? Or what is the way of your writing?
Ensure the properness, what is given uh, should maintain certain.
Okay.
I'm
You can use unit testing
yes.
after completing your code. Uh, uh,
Should,
and everything should work fine. So just to make sure that you can use unit testing and
yes.
you can do regression testing. Okay. And we can check the pipelines, right? Why after pushing, like all the automated things should work fine. Okay.
Yes.
And some peer code reviews, like you can ask uh, to review your code to your teammate or any other team lead. And
Okay.
static code analysis tools like sonar coverage and all those stuffs are useful. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving ahead, have you used ArrayList in your project?
Yes, I have used that.
Can you tell me the difference between ArrayList and linked list?
uh, like uh, Array list and linked list, we can
Yes.
say that the major difference between array list and linked list is that
Mm-hmm.
array list searching is easy,
Okay.
whereas insertion and deletion is difficult.
Okay.
Uh, and whereas in linked list, insertion and deletion is easy, and
Okay.
searching is somewhat difficult, as linked list work on previous and next node. So for
Okay.
that, searching and deletion is easy for linked list.
Okay, okay, okay. So okay, got it. So moving ahead, can you explain the concept of Java collections framework?
Java collection framework provide us like interfaces and classes
Okay,
to work on object data. So
okay,
by using that interfaces and classes, we can work on object data to
okay.
iterate, to delete it, to insert it. So we
Mm-hmm.
can easily use it.
Okay, okay. Can you give an example where you have used a hash set and a scenario where a tree set is more appropriate? First, tell me
Uh,
where can we use hash set, and then tell me where a tree set is more appropriate than hash set.
Hasset is used when we don't want to store the duplicate data.
Okay,
There we can use hasset.
hash set. Okay,
Yes, like to ID. If you want to store the ID uniquely, then you can use hasset.
okay.
And preset we can use where we want to store the data in a format.
In a
A node format.
node,
Um,
node or sorted.
uh, a sorted format. So
Okay.
there we can.
For example, if we want to fetch unique customer names, uh, in alphabetical order, we can use preset, right?
Preset, yes.
Hmm. Okay. So moving ahead, what is the purpose of final keyword?
What is the purpose of sorry?
Final keyword.
Yes. If we declare something final, so we
Uh-huh.
cannot override or extend it. It is
Okay.
constant.
Okay. Okay. It means we cannot change or
We
overwrite.
cannot change the variable. Yes.
We cannot change the variable or we cannot override the classes if it is
Yes.
final.
Fine.
Oh, sorry, method. And can a final class be extended?
A final class cannot be extended.
Okay. So moving ahead, how does Java achieve polymorphism?
Um, okay. Polymorphism is a concept in concept we can say.
Okay.
Polymorphism we can say one can take many forms.
Uh-huh.
As an example, if I give uh, like then I can say a man. A man
Mm-hmm.
can be also husband and
Mm-hmm.
also be child and
Mm-hmm.
also be teacher. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the cat tag. Like one can take many forms. In
Okay.
polymorphism, we have a concept of overloading and override.
Okay. 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 So if you have a method that takes a superclass type as a parameter, can it work with objects of its subclass type?
Normally, if we are using a superclass, then we are actually calling the super class. If
Okay.
we are using super method in the subclass, then we are calling the super class. So I think so, no.
Okay. So actually, the correct answer is yes. Yeah. So this is actually example of polymorphism where a method can accept objects of any subclasses of the specified superclass type and allowing more for more flexible and reusable code. Okay. What are the differences between checked and unchecked exceptions?
Um, in checked exception, compiler will make us to force us to handle the exception.
Okay.
Whereas in unchecked exception, compiler will not make us to or force us to handle the exception.
Okay.
In checked exception, we can say file not found exception.
Okay.
In unchecked exception, we can say arithmetic exception.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you give an example of when you would create a custom exceptions in your code, or I mean to say is Give an example of any custom exception you have created in your project.
Yes, sir. We have to throw a message
Mm-hmm.
where this file not found.
Okay.
So we have created one class, and
Okay.
in that class we can name that class according to our convenient. But we
Okay.
have to extend that class with this exception or
Mm-hmm.
runtime exception, and
Mm-hmm.
then inside that class we can write the code for which we want to throw that exception in other
Mm-hmm.
methods if we want to throw.
Okay. What is the significance of hash code and equals methods?
Okay, yes. Yes. The if the It is saying that if the hash code of a method
Mm-hmm.
is if the hash code of two variables are same, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that the content of that variable will be same. If I
Okay.
give it you the example, then I can say if a string s is equal
Mm-hmm.
to ab
Mm-hmm.
and string S1 is equal to BA. So
Okay.
AB will be calculated as 97 plus 98 and B will
Mm-hmm.
be also calculated as 98 plus 97.
Mm-hmm.
So hash code is calculated on numbers. So the
Okay.
hash code of this S and S1 will be equal,
Mm-hmm.
but
Okay.
whereas its content is not equal. So we can say
Okay.
its hash code is equal, but equals method will not be give you the true value.
Okay. Correct. So, how would you override these methods in a custom class?
We have at the override, so we
Okay.
can use them.
You can override as per our need, right? Okay. Moving ahead. Uh, can you please describe synchronization in the context of multi-threading?
Synchronization keyword is used when we need to handle multiple threads.
Okay.
So at that time, we use a synchronized keyword for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Okay. So how would you handle a scenario where two threads need to update the same data structure?
If two threads need to implement the same data structure, then
Hmm.
we can use synchronized.
Synchronized
So,
methods and
yes,
blocks.
blocks.
Okay. Can you explain the concept of uh, uh, method overloading?
Yes. Method overloading is the concept, as I said, in polymorphism,
Hmm.
where we have a method name and
Okay.
method name same, whereas the argument and data type
Hmm.
of the methods are different. So, how it other method will recognize that we want to call the that method? So we have
Okay.
different arguments and different uh, numbers of arguments there. So according to that, if it matches, then it will call to that.
Okay. Can constructor be overloaded?
Yes, constructor can be overloaded.
Okay. Yes, correct. Constructors can be overloaded. Hmm. Moving ahead. Hmm. How is polymorphism achieved at runtime?
Um, Polymorphism can be achieved at runtime by
Dynamic method dispatch.
yes, dynamic method dispatch, or you can say method overriding.
Yes, yes. Where the methods to be executed is determined at runtime based on the object's actual type and allowing for behavior specific to that type, even when exists a reference of a more general or abstract type. Okay. What are the interfaces in Java and how are they different from abstract classes?
If I say interfaces, we can say 100% abstraction.
Okay.
Um, so this way we
So
can achieve.
what would be the methods in the interfaces? Like type of
Uh,
methods we can add inside the interface.
Type of method, like if we have a list set, we can say these are interfaces, and we can have a method that add put.
Okay.
This is
So can an interface in Java contain a constructor?
no, in interface do not contain the constructor.
Yes, correct. Interfaces in Java cannot contain constructors because interfaces cannot be instantiated on their own. And constructors are meant for creating object instances, which is not applicable for interfaces. Okay, so how can you implement multiple interfaces in a single class?
We can implement interfaces, so we can use multiple interfaces as we do not create interface object.
Mhm.
So we
Okay,
can use
what are the default methods in interfaces?
what are the
What,
default method in
why? Yes.
actually default method do not carry a body, so this is we have default method in interfaces.
Yeah, they have a default implementation.
Default integration.
And it was introduced in Java 8, so they allow
Java.
developers to add new methods to interfaces without breaking existing implementation. So what is exception handling in Java?
Um, Exception handling in Java, like we need to handle the exception
Mm-hmm.
where we know that the error will occur. So we
Okay,
can use it, try, catch, and
okay,
finally are the keywords we can use to handle the exception.
okay, okay. So can you explain the difference between checked and unchecked exceptions?
Yes. I would say that in checked exception, we are forced to handle the exception,
Okay.
whereas in unchecked exception, we are not forced to handle the exception. The first one come under file not found exception,
Mm-hmm.
and second one is arithmetic exception.
So how are you managing this or handling exceptions in your current project?
Like first we have most thing is try and catch.
Uh,
Otherwise, we make our own custom class
so
to
are you
handle
doing
that.
globally handling or just using try catch in each service class?
We are implementing in both the way.
Okay.
Like um,
Okay. So yeah, Akansha, it's done from my end.